Have another university expert with us tonight who also does extensive grower-oriented research of the same kind and does it all year long. Dr. Dennis Hancock from the University of Georgia. We said welcome earlier, but get to know you a little bit better and tell us about your background. You grew up on a farm in Kentucky, you said.
I did. I grew up on a beef cattle operation in western part of Kentucky, a little small operation, and my backyard was our front pasture, so I got bitten by the bug early.
You bet.
Been at the University of Georgia after finishing my PhD. Been there for about 4.5 years now.
And working a lot. You're going to be sharing a lot tonight about some of the forage issues, not issues, but the benefits here. When we talk about AGROTAIN and forage, they go together quite well in your area.
Exactly, and that's a large portion of my research in the last several years has been on that.
Very good. Good to have you here. Also, it's good to welcome back Jimmy Johnson to RFD-TV. He's the Director of U.S. Sales for AGROTAIN International. Jimmy, good to see you again.
Good to be back. Good.
Absolutely. For viewers who are seeing you for the first time, though, a little bit about yourself.
I am from Tennessee, and I'm the U.S. Sales Director for AGROTAIN International, and cover the U.S. and continue to help people learn more about AGROTAIN and how to improve their nitrogen efficiency.
Absolutely. You've been with them about 9 years.
Yes, sir.
Boy, time goes by, doesn't it?
Sure does.
Good to have you here, Jimmy. And again, we are going to be talking about, as you saw in Dr. Below's presentation, the top two, weather and nitrogen. Let's talk about weather here, Jimmy, if we might, and some of the challenges. They just seem to get increase each year and really all year long.
Yes, sir. You could have places where they're having flooding. You can have places that they have drought. I was at a top producers meeting in Chicago, and that was one of the things that was on all the growers' minds. What can we do about weather? But like Dr. Below, you can't do much about weather, but we can do something about AGROTAIN.
And viewers, we will have our telephone lines open as we move through this hour, so take good notes here. We look forward to hearing from you and questions for Dr. Hancock or Jimmy Johnson about AGROTAIN and improving your efficiency later in the program. Also, on our AGROTAIN program, now this one aired last November, Dr. Jerry Hatfield was with us. He is the director of the National Laboratory for Agriculture and the Environment. It's based out of Ames, Iowa. He talked about his volatile weather research, and just before airtime, we learned today, as a matter of fact, viewers, that the National Weather Service has issued a weather statement. You want to take note of this. They said that flooding along the Mississippi River is going to have a higher probability this spring than any time in the past 8 years. Jerry, that was Jimmy, very timely to our whole conversation here about weather, and maybe talk a little bit about what you have seen as it relates to wet, dry conditions.
Well, sir, this has been a real problem, and we have seen, and as we got that report today, we've seen that in those wet years, AGROTAIN definitely has shown a greater increase in yields because it seems like we have a greater problem when we have the wet situations. Mm-hmm. But we've seen people that lost their nitrogen, as you saw in the video with Dr. Below, and we had some people that had to come back and do some rescue applications with AGROTAIN treated urea fluid into corn. That's not a normal practice. And again, at the top producers meeting, some farmers was talking to me, and they was saying, we want to plan on making some side dress applications with AGROTAIN and urea. People that don't have the urea, they're looking at UAN solution, making some side dress applications and putting AGROTAIN or AGROTAIN Plus into that. Mm-hmm. We continue to look at different research. I know when I first started with AGROTAIN, we had some wet springs, and people could not get in the field to make their side dress applications and with their knife rigs. So we started putting on urea and AGROTAIN, and we saw it was a real benefit. One of the growers this last year told me that he got a 50 to 70 bushel increase in those rescue applications. But you know, that increase was still not a good corn crop. The other was so bad that it was very devastating in that. And I think we have a slide that shows.
Yeah, what are maybe you have some of the other conditions here that might affect the ammonia volatilization.
We have a graph there, and if you look on the graph there that's up there, the greatest amount of volatilization is where the nitrogen is put out on in a flood situation. So if you got standing water, that's where you're going to lose the most of your nitrogen. The second worst case scenario is on a muddy ground. And before AGROTAIN came to the market, AGROTAIN you could use urea and put it on dry ground and get it incorporated. The next loss there is the AGROTAIN on muddy ground. This surprised the researcher when he saw that the amount of ammonia loss from AGROTAIN's treated urea was less than urea on dry ground. And of course, the best treatment there is AGROTAIN stabilized urea on dry ground, and that's what we'd like to see if we can get that. But if you can't get it, AGROTAIN on wet ground is definitely going to help you, and we've seen that in the last 9 years that I've worked with AGROTAIN.